Welcome to yet another episode of Not Yet Mature, the podcast series talking about life and business, the mix between the two, and hopefully allowing the entrepreneur and founder to find some insights of what the path looks like, or rather should look like ahead. XCAP has a vision that the ethical business that is formed around servitude and relational transactions should be given the advantage to exit the finite space and enter the infinite games. This, collectively, is our mission and our goal. Without further delay, let's dive into today's chat. Here with me, your host, founder of Exemplo Capital, Deon Richter. Like and subscribe, the usual.
So, corporate disengagement is a real thing and a real issue. So, my name is Deon and welcome to today's episode. One of the biggest obstacles that corporations, especially franchises, I'd say, or multi-sited organizations, meaning they're not franchises, but they do have multiple sites, right? The name says it all. One of the biggest issues or obstacles that they face is that they are out of touch with the minute things. The smaller communications, so the smaller happenings that is happening around in their business. So, to be honest, for starters, that's the core of the problem, being out of touch. The core is that some things are small and others bigger, and based on that logic, they prioritize things that way. I mean, we all know when you study business or you get into business, if you want to be productive, the best way to do is the 4-quadrant rule, where you prioritize everything according to urgency and priority, and then deciding on which goes first. So, logically said, that is minute things naturally will be out of touch of the corporate organization. So, I need to actually say, I understand their issue. I cannot throw all my resources into solving smaller issues, right? At the end of the day, what would that cost a company if they needed to do that? Take morning routines with my kids, right? So everything is fine, and I do productivity management for a living, so I think I'm pretty well productive and pretty great at time management. I practice what I preach in most cases, but here's the thing, right? I can plan so well, and we all do as parents, right? We plan according to a bigger picture, a bigger time frame, and action plans because we know what the day looks like ahead. We know what needs to happen in the entirety of the day. But for our kids, the moment is all that they see or know. Yet, small things like, wanting more milk in their tea while you're busy packing lunch boxes are better attended to now, right? We know this as parents. You might think, nope, I'm prioritizing for all the valid reasons, backing your resources, backing your attention and availability to a certain schedule, and rightfully so, just to actually experience that your whole day goes to, poop, if you don't comply with the actions, right? So, small things in the mind of the consumer are the things that matter. We as consumers are the kids, right? And the problem larger corporations sit with is getting distant from controlling and being a part of these small things. As a parent, we have the benefit to be active and involved and actively involved in the moment, so we can control it better, and it controls the outcome of our day. But as you scale, as you are larger, especially with corporations, being present is impossible. You cannot throw all your resources there. But does it have an effect in the company? And when you build a business, you're building it to be bigger, right? And will you sit with this issue? This is what we want to actually just touch on today. Small things in the mind of the consumer are the things that matter. And the problem larger corporations sit with is getting distant from controlling and being a part of the small things. Just to find out, come the end of the quarter, it I would say, pooped up your day as well, right? Sales are down, clients are not buying into this. Take Lego, for example. I don't know if you've ever read the story of, what's the previous CEO's name? Jorgen, Georgie, let's call him George. No, it was Jorgen van Nutsdorp, right? I don't know how to pronounce his surname. Apologies for that. But so in walks this guy. He comes into the company as an external consultant. I think he was 35 years old. He was very young, early 30s. This young guy coming into this company, and as he started doing an audit and how everything is working, he begins to realize that there is a massive issue in the company and they are heading towards, I would say, bankruptcy. I think they lost something like 200 million a year. And this is the thing. It is a family-owned business, believe it or not. It is not a listed company. It's a family-owned business. And this family is out of touch of what is happening. Now, this Jorgen comes and he says, well, listen here. Here's my review on the company. You guys are in for it in the long haul. And I think it was his CFO. Might have my characters mixed up here. I haven't read the book in quite a while, but the CFO basically said, listen, is your audit true? Is this actual? Because we need to present this with the family. Now, the point that I want to make is the family was so distant in the minute things, in the day-to-day operations, that they were unaware. They look just at the financials year on year, at the sales revenue, at the growth, and they think everything is fine, when it basically almost cost them their company. The family was completely disengaged from the smaller things. Why am I talking about this? I'm a little bit of a entitled Karen on paid services, if you want to put it like that. I'm not proud of it, but a lot of sacrifices goes in to give me the ability to have a face value to trade for goods and services, meaning I work hard for my money. I sacrifice my time from my family on certain things to be able to do that, to get a currency or a value that I can trade in for goods and services. Opportunity costing, I can trade for what I have for something that I actually want. So it's not just a money trade, it's a sacrifice trade that goes on way before that. And I don't actually mind mistakes, nor bad services, but I do mind not delivering what you promote. Or I do mind not doing what you get paid to do, or acting, out of your responsibilities. In other words, government lines bother me nil, nothing, zero. Because you expect them. They're not over-promising, maybe on a political stance, but I mean, if you still choose that, that's up for you. But if you actually go there and, services are offline and this upsets you still, I don't know. Yeah. In any case. So that frustrates me from a government point of view, but not actually from a service point of view in that sense. But a salesperson whose project or product knowledge is little to none, or the mere fact that we have this culture of apologizing to be helped in a store. Like you would walk in, it's part of our culture in South Africa specifically, worldwide, but especially in South Africa, you walk in and you will say, sorry, can you help me? Why do we apologize for that? That gets to me. So when the same treadmill does not work in Virgin Active for 21 consecutive days, and this is an actual experience of mine, and their solution from day one is to hang out an out of order sign, that gets to me. Because in that entire sequence, someone's just not doing their job. And calm down, all the Karens, the Virgin headquarters that you want to headshot, boycott, or go elsewhere, to be honest, is most probably, if not certainly, are unaware of this issue. But they should be. Not for this direct cost. Corporations or largest, especially of larger scale, should understand that minor, smaller things that cannot be backed by their direct resources, it is still their responsibility to see it through. Kauai. And now it's sounding like I'm on the Virgin attack here, and it's not related, I promise. Well, then again, the company culture does have a major impact. But I mean, it would be great that when I pay 78 Rand for a smoothie, not to get the fail cake when I choose not to tip. Yes, they are expensive to make. Not complaining about the price for now, but the company's responsibility to make or to maybe have a culture to make their untipping client not feel like a poopies would be great. In this specific case, why not internally start tipping from your side per drink? That's a solution. But this attitude and the solution and the experience is distant from the corporate. And that's the point I want to make. On a smaller scale, both scenarios would have been differently approached. I'm almost 100% confident in that. Hence, differently experienced and long-term differently invested in and supported by the consumer, right? Systems and company cultures need to reflect that ability to be constantly aware. Without micromanagement, they need to be constantly aware of the client's perceived value, emotional bondage, and willingness to actually support the company. These systems and solutions actually do exist. Even though the bigger company, in any case, does not listen to the show, the startups and entrepreneurs hopefully do. So as our value go, and this is our value, we never present a problem without a solution. So as an entrepreneur, growing and sustaining in leadership, here are a couple of things that you can work on now to not be in this, or hopefully not be in this problem later. Because sometimes it's slightly a bit more tricky, and I get that. The first thing that I want to mention is keep your supplier accountable. Meaning, delivery is way more important over tax rebates and BE contracts and everything like that. For example, Virgin Active, with that treadmill situation, I'm sure that Techno Gym or Techno whatever is a supplier to their, well, you see the signs everywhere. I'm sure in that agreement there is, well, if there's an issue, they need to sort it out. But we don't keep people accountable enough for the products that they deliver. And even though if it's not their problem, this needs to be sorted out. You're a supplier for us. Get us a new one. Take the old one just out, just to, it doesn't matter. You need their support and service delivery to actually grow, your supplier side. So keep in touch with their vision, with your supplier's vision, keep in touch with their growth plans and their internal challenges. So many times our relational or relationship with our suppliers is solely transactional. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be relational, over transactional, including but not limited to the transactional part. Next time you have an AGM or supply event, stop brown-nosing and strategize. Get to know them personally. Help them where you can. Help them help you. Pray together. When was the last time that you actually cared if they, your suppliers, actually made it or not? Or do you just have a backup on speed dial, someone else that you can get your goods from? Number 2, always offer what you promised. And this is important. Not a version of it. If you offer something, including the experience and treatment that comes with it, and it fails, refund as optional, yet change and apologize as mandatory. Meaning if a mistake happened and the client consists on the Consumer Act and you want to refund them, you can refund them. That's optional. Do it, great, it's fine. It doesn't eliminate the problem. Change and apologize as mandatory. You don't need to be apologizing if they are wrong, but you can still apologize for them having a bad experience. Whether it's your fault or not, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry that you had to go through this today. You don't need to make up and say, yeah, it's us. It's not about that. Number 3, reach out, and this is a very humble thing to do. Reach out, especially if you're CEO, especially if you're founder, especially if you're director or leading your sales, but reach out to every churned customer, every customer that left, ever. Call them. Not just campaign to them. Call them. Say thank you for ever being a member. Keep a system for this. Not winning them back, just saying sorry that you dropped a ball. Own up. And thank them for ever trusting in you. I can't tell you. So at XGAP, we pride ourselves with so many things. We pride ourselves that you will see a result. The result is debatable, but it will have an effect in your company that is either more productive, more profitable, or we've got certain metrics that we do promise and back. Although in the past, not a lot, not proud, but we definitely, like any company, have customers that didn't have a great experience with us. And there was nothing like lawsuits or demanding money back. Or in some cases, we couldn't, doesn't matter. But the point that we've done with every single one is we kept and restored the relationship as human beings. In my mind now, I can think of, I think 4. Let me just quickly think. 4. 4 customers that really, according to them, according to us, did not have a great relationship. Did not go or end up great in the business, in the transactional field. On every single one of them, not only did I call, I went to their offices and said, let's talk about your experience. How can we improve? What are the things that you felt? And on certain cases, I defended not their feelings. I didn't correct their feelings. I corrected certain things that maybe that was misinterpreted or misunderstood or misguided or anything like that. We talked about it. We talked about the view, not trying to change their minds or anything like that. I apologized for the way that they had this experience. And till today, every single one of them is on our check-in list. We check in with them. Are you guys still doing good? Well done for this achievement. Well done for this accolade. Can we pray with you? Can we reach out to you? Can we do this? Not trying to sell them anything, not trying to do business again, ever. But if ever they want to, actually 2 out of the 4, we do still do business again with them. The other 2, no, and it's nothing. We still check in with them. And that is a major thing to do. Own up to that. Number 4 is respect the effort that people make, the sacrifices they make in order to support your cause or your vision. Remember, I said earlier on, that trade of money, that value has a sacrifice behind it. Trusting that it is an ethical sacrifice, not just a fraudulent one or just a quick buck scheme that they have in the pocket. Regardless, you're not the judge of that. But when they trade that value for your product and service, respect where it comes from. Not only you, but also your staff, your culture. When someone can afford a $50 for coffee, but they cannot afford or don't want to afford the R5 tip, it doesn't make them less of a consumer. The 3,000 Rand that the dad spends at the grocery train deserves some form of recognition that he sacrificed so much to get that for his family. Number 5, create multiple channels and options to get feedback, especially when it's hot, and listen, have a channel to actually listen to all of them. You don't need to respond to all of them. It's not about the consumer is always right. It's about they took the time to communicate, so take the time to listen. How you react is completely up to you. But implement channels. And as you grow more and more, or rather more and more of them, you need to filter this out in real time. Let me give you an example. My 4-year goal from now is hopefully, God willingly, going to open up a couple of coffee shops. Not going to explain too much of the model, but this is something that we're going to do that I feel that other coffee shops and other chains can actually learn from this. So this is the thing. When it comes to, let's specifically talk about coffee, and let's specifically talk about my experience. So this is my opinion from my experience, right? I don't like it when the coffee is not consistently good or consistently whatever. Meaning, I expect my cappuccino or my flat white or my cortado to taste exactly the same from the same franchise every single time I get there. Now, there's a couple of things that fluctuate, but the number one thing is obviously we've talked about so many times the thermostat and the temperature, milk temperatures, everything. Okay. So many times I get to a coffee place and then let's say 4 out of the 5 times it's brilliant, but the 5th time it burns my mouth. Now, all of them ask me to pay and tip beforehand. And then when my experience was bad, I didn't want to listen or complain to anyone. I just wanted to leave and never go back. And there's certain places that if you disappoint me twice in a row, I don't go back. I don't even take the courtesy time to tell you why. Now, think about this. If you're a company owner, and most coffee shops, the owner is not the manager or at site, especially with the franchises one, especially if they've got multi-sited ones, they oversee everything, not the actual business day-to-day operations. But listen to this. From a business person, from my point of view, we have something that we call a customer acquisition cost, meaning it costs me something to get the customer in the door. It is usually your ad spend, marketing to conversion ratio, or it is actually like giving someone a 10% off of their first purchase to get into the door. There's a cost involved, a cost implication to acquire that customer. Then we have a second measurement, the lifetime value of that customer, how long he can actually come to us. So there's a couple of variables in that. In this specific scenario is how long will he live? How long will he be in the area? Does his kids go to school? How many time, and then financial implication and there's so many things that are variables in this. You can do an entire case study on it. But then we've got the churn rate, the customer not coming back. Now, I've already in some form, even if it's not directly to that customer, I've already in some form invested in that customer coming to my store. Even if it was just operational cost or setup. I paid for that customer to be there. There's always an acquiring cost. Always. Sometimes it's direct, sometimes it's indirect. If I was the owner of the company and this person churns, I want to get it in hot form. The communication, the reason why. Because in hot form, they take the time to tell me and I get the time to fix it. For example, if I did the following, if I said, listen, you order, you get your drink, and you queue up to pay, by the first time you took a sip, and now you need to pay, you're going to complain, and you're going to complain in store, and you're going to complain there, or you're not going to tip. And I can pick that up from a management point of view and say, sir, what is wrong? And I can get the opportunity to fix it there. Now, that cost of fixing, most probably, 50% of the time would have been valid, a valid complaint. And yes, you get your, other things as well. You'll always get the complaints that's not valid. But the point is, when I deal with a complaint while it's hot, the customer acquisition cost didn't come for nothing. Why? Because the customer would be a returning customer. Personally, when I go to restaurants or coffee shops, especially chains, what I do is the following. I've mentioned in the other podcast, I've got a five time visit rule before tipping. So I say to my baristas, I say, listen here, and that's me. I can lie about it. It's not a lie. Anyone can just say it and not do it. For me, it's an ethical thing, and I actually do it. I say, listen here, what I'm going to do is I'm coming here every single time that the coffee is great, have my order perfected 5 times in a row, and I'll tip you. And I'll give you a proper tip to say thank you for that. Mess it up once, I'll tell you the reason, I'll still pay for it, but the clock goes down to 0. Mess it up twice in a row, you don't see me again. And I've actually explained this to people, and you'll be surprised how many people, just honestly speaking, ask them, how was your experience? How was this? You see, people, the corporates and the multi-sited sites are not always the enemy, but that communication, that in the hot, minute moment, that experience, that is what you want to cultivate. That is what you want to manage, because at the end of the day, it makes a massive impact on the company out there. So position yourself in a listening position in your company and create channels so that you can listen with a solutional ear. And if you listen to solve, you might just end up making $1 million in a day. Yes, ask me about that one. Well, actually, wait. We will share that testimony shortly. I have to get you kind of like hooked into the show and socials somehow. So don't sit back, hustle, innovate, and uplift. Lekker.